Alright, I want to do this video because right now, today is December 21st, 2018, and there's a lot of talk in the media about federal government shutdown. It's all over this border wall. Trump wants to put the border wall up. The Democrats don't want it. And so the Democrats say, we're not going to include funding for the border wall in the budget. And Trump says, I'm not going to sign the budget unless you put funding in there. And so they're talking about a government shutdown. I think it's after today if it's not passed. Well, I want to talk a lot about that. And first thing I want to mention is that federal government budget is huge. I don't know how much, but I mean, it's $1 trillion a year or something like that. It's ridiculous how much money is in there. And the border wall funding is only, I don't know, 40 million. It's probably not even that. It's such a small part of the budget, it's not even worth mentioning. It'd be like rejecting a budget for the school system where I work because you don't want to, because the board members want $5,000 for their travel each and you won't put it in there. $5,000 in that budget's nothing. And that's the way it is with this border wall. What Trump wants for that? Nothing. Compared to all the liberal programs that they've got in there. It probably runs in the hundreds of millions, if not billions, of these liberal government programs, frivolous spending, and they won't throw Trump a bone, $20 million for a border wall. It's ridiculous. And all it is just a political game, and then they make a big deal over the government shutdown. It's like, oh, Trump is a bad president because he won't keep the government going. Well, that's all smoke and mirrors too. Because, and I'll give you an example, I used to work for a city. I did the payroll for a city government. And the police had their own union, and they wanted all these things in their contract, raises and stuff, and the city says we're not going to do that, and they were locked, and so the contract ended, police contract ended, and they still didn't have a new contract. The police worked for another year and a half or so before they finally agreed to a new contract. And then and then with the new terms and raises and everything, that caused a lot of work for me because then I had to go back and calculate all this retroactive pay going back a year and a half for the contract. But the point is, if you lived in that city, you would have, unless you kept up with city politics, you would have no idea that the police were working without a contract. They didn't have a contract, but yet they were working. Well, the reason is because when it comes to government spending, yes, if you don't have a budget, technically you don't have the money to spend on expenses. But because the police is considered a necessary function of the government, even though there was no agreed upon contract between the union and the city, the police worked just as if there was a contract. They got paid at their old rate, and then when a new contract came in, they got the retroactive pay at the new rate. And I mention that because that's how a federal government shutdown works. It's being thrown up to make Trump look bad, say, oh, well, he's so concerned, we want to make sure we love and care about everybody, so we want everybody to come in. We don't care about a wall. And Trump is just so hard-hearted that he will shut down all the essential government functions just so he can keep these poor, deserving people out of our country. And that's not what it is at all. When the government shuts down, and we've had it before. We had it, I think, four, maybe 5 years ago. Around October, I remember there was a week or two there where the government was shut down, federal government. That was under the Obama administration, by the way. And the mail still went through. The police were still out there. The FBI, the CIA, they're all still working.
And Walmart was still open.
Walmart was still open. All the essential functions of the government in a government shutdown continues. Because even if you don't have the budget, it's considered an emergency. I mean, you can't just say, oh, there's no money, so there's no police. Well, then there's chaos. National Guard, oh, you stay at home. Military, no, we can't pay you. Well, if you lay off all the military, we're subject to attack. So all the essential government functions continue during a government shutdown. The only things that do not continue in a government shutdown are the unnecessary ones. And that's the part that if you are a conservative Republican or libertarian, that's the part of this liberal, frivolous spending that you don't want anyway. So in a government shutdown, it doesn't affect the military or the police or the FBI. It doesn't affect your mail. It doesn't affect all the essential government functions. But it affects all these liberal programs because they're considered non-essential. And so really, from a Republican or a conservative perspective, Trump standing up for the wall and shutting down the government as a result, if you are a very conservative person who doesn't like big government, shutting down the government is a wonderful thing. It's a blessing because all the essential functions of government continue, which you want to happen, but the non-essential stuff that you as a conservative don't like stops because it's not essential and they don't have the money for it. It's not an emergency type thing. So really what they're doing in a government shutdown is all it does is shut down the liberal programs, which is great if you're a conservative.
Well, it shuts down the liberal programs, but it also, Trump is going to make them work during the Christmas holiday, and they don't get paid for it. That's what it boils down to. They don't want to have to work, even though they're atheists. They don't want to have to work during Christmas. They want to have that time off, and they want to get paid. But if Trump shuts it down, they have to work during Christmas, and they don't get any money.
Yeah, that's another good point. Yeah, I remember last year I went to the doctor around Christmas, and we saw, a senator or House. Anyway, one of the guys who works at Washington, D.C., politicians, he was there at the hospital getting his annual checkup. That's what a lot of those politicians do. They got 2 weeks off for Christmas and they have fun with their family, get things necessary done. They leave Washington, they go back to where their home is. But if they don't have a budget, they gotta, and I don't know how the law is in the federal government, but I know with the state of California, not only do they have to work during that break, but they don't get paid until that budget is passed. So they have to work for free, basically. And that is a wonderful law. That's exactly how it should be, because that's how it is in my job. I mean, I've got a job that I have to do. Now, I get off for Christmas, but if that job wasn't done before I left for Christmas, I would have to stay, and I'm salaried, so I'd have to work for free, basically. I wouldn't get any extra time, and I would have to work to get the job done. I remember a job I had working for the government, 6-7 years ago. I had certain reports that I had to get out right before Christmas, and the boss comes around, lets everybody go home early. I said, I can't go home early. I got to get these reports. I got federal deadlines that I got to meet in these grant reports that I got to fill out and turn in. So I had to work for free while everybody else got to go home. And that's what a salaried job is. And that's what they should do then as politicians. They're not paid by the hour. They're paid for that position. And so they have a job to do. One of the big jobs is getting budget passed. So they have funding, and if they don't resolve their differences and get it passed, well, they should be there working for free, because that's the job that they sign up for. If you don't get your job done, you stay until it's done. That's how it works in the real world. So I think it's great that that's how it would work for the federal government too. But of course, the liberal media, they're going to make it look bad. Oh, Trump is so bad. He's so evil. He's trying to shut down all these necessary programs. If they're necessary, they're not going to be shut down. The only ones that are shut down are the liberal ones, and we don't care about those anyway. So I say go ahead, shut the government down. I want small government anyway, and a government shutdown accomplishes that, at least until the budget gets passed. So shut her down, boys.